Hello and welcome back to this glorious day. It's 42.4 degrees in here and it's 26 degrees outside and it's absolutely lovely. We have had a week of virtually every day torrential downpours and thunder, but the sun is out today. It's not an ideal day to be in the polytunnel, but I've got a few bits and pieces that I want to do. So I had said I was going to keep on top of these tomatoes. They're not as high as the poles yet, so I don't need to take the tops off, but I haven't been nipping out these side shoots, so I'm going to give them a little bit of a tidy up today and get rid of the bits I don't need. And I know that a lot of people just use their fingers, but when I'm doing a lot like this, I find it easier to use scissors. And who doesn't love that smell? Delicious. We've already got some little tomatoes forming. And it's the first year that I've grown the tigerella and they're already stripy. They look amazing. So I can't wait to try them. So you've already seen me tackling the tomatoes. I could have taken more off, but that'll do for today. These beans are doing really well. These are the Madeira Maroon and they're really climbing beautifully. The cucumber, let me just poke you over here. I hope you can see them down here. The cucumber plant is doing really well and looking really healthy, and it's still got lots of climbing to do. My peas are an absolute disaster. These are alderman peas, and I've always had great success growing peas in the polytunnel, particularly last year. And this time last year they were up at the top, flowering beautifully and starting to produce. But as you can see, a lot of them have just dried out and died. Now there are a few peas on some of them. Now the thing I find with peas is when they start to yellow off like that, it's usually one of two things: overwatering or underwatering, and it's really difficult to know, isn't it? So they've been watered in exactly the same manner as everything else and the same way that I always do. So I decided that I was underwatering, so I tried for a few days to a week of watering them more. It didn't seem to make any difference, so then I tried watering less. Still didn't make any difference. So just not my year for peas. There's a few on there, and in fact I've missed a few, but I can save them, I suppose, and use them for planting next season. So let's have a look at everything else in here. So in this pot I had some strawberries that I dug up when I was weeding outside, but as you can see they're being overtaken by volunteer tomatoes, so I do need to get those out. This tub is empty, but I have got some spare tomato plants that I haven't put anywhere and I haven't given away, so I might pop them in there. My sweet peas are doing absolutely appallingly, although if we get in a little bit closer, there are some good shoots starting to come. So again, they may have been affected by those fluctuating temperatures. This is my basil, and it's looking absolutely great and it smells amazing. Potatoes in those buckets. I've already had a couple of courgettes from this plant. Got a couple of wilty leaves there. I might take those off. And then moving along to my carrots and parsnips. So the carrots, as I'd already shown you, are a bit clumpy, and there's a random one there and a few more coming. We have one parsnip, nothing else. So this better be a really big fat parsnip that we can use for our festive meal, because it looks like it's going to be the only one. Now then, in this bed, I've actually got a volunteer nasturtium, so I've left it there. I put in here the straw flowers, and then this little flower, which I can't still remember, Gomphora, which I had from Jasmine. And it's flowering. Isn't that pretty? And the straw flowers are also starting to flower. Some are looking really good, some not looking so great. And this is the bed I've been having issues with. So this was the purple peacock bean, and look at that, it's just terrific. Not only was it trying to die, but it now looks like it's being eaten. And if you recall, I had two and the other one just died. So in here I put my Greek gigantes, which the bottom looks horrific. It started to climb and it seems to have just given up. So yeah, if you compare it to the Madeira Maroon, which were put in at the same time, I don't know what's going on there. Then we'll move along here. Now, I've had a bit of a crazy idea this year. As I've mentioned, I'm going to try and grow as much as I can in the polytunnel because outside got out of control. I'll show you a little bit out there, and is currently a work in progress. There's a lot of grass that's growing there that needs to be pulled. These are squash, Crown Prince here, and I can't remember another Crown Prince there. Now I have grown squash in here before, and the idea is that as they start to grow, I will trail them down this bed and then just limit them and try and get one or two squash from each. What I'm also doing, another experiment, because the outdoor beds weren't ready and I didn't make another archway like the ones I've had in the past. This is a Jack Be Little in a hanging basket. A second one here and a third here. And I'm planning, hopefully, to get them to come up. I've already put some string, and there is this is actually an old washing line prop. So I'm hoping to grow them with the crop bars along the top of the polytunnel. So let's just go back a bit so you can kind of see what I mean. So you can see the 3 baskets, each with 1 plant, and the plan is that they will go up and along. That's the plan. We'll see what happens. Just while we're here, these are some mustard leaves. I let them flower because Victor really loves them. So they're generally for feeding him, although they are nice in salads as well. Here I've got a clump of radishes. They're not radishes, they're beetroot. They're Chioggia beetroot. I had no success with my Burpees Golden. I think they were Burpees Golden. I don't recall. But these have come up. They're a little bit scooched in the middle. I've no idea why. I sowed them the way I normally do, but hey, they're there. And I think there's a weed there that needs to come out. The peppermint chard. Look at the peppermint chard. I mean, it's just so beautiful. I love growing chard for the beauty as much as for the harvest and the taste. But since discovering this peppermint chard, it's just delightful. And then behind it, we've got some Lucullus chard, which isn't looking brilliant. These have all ended up a bit crammed together because if you remember, I put quite a lot in here and then some plants died. There's a kale there as well. But, you know, they're growing and I'm getting pickings from them. Now then, the beans, I'll show you the better ones. So these are the cobra beans that the lovely Jasmine gave me. These ones are looking kind of okay, but I would have expected them to be a bit taller by now. So they're not great. And these ones, along with a volunteer nasturtium, are really not looking great. So I'm crossing my fingers and hoping. And then also in here, I've got these, which I'm waiting on Jasmine to get back to me. She did tell me what they were. They're not strawberries. Somebody else might know. But I have got to find them a place. And then here are my leftover tomato plants, and there's also some chives in the back, which I've had for ages for one of my friends. She's not had a chance to get them, but she's coming to see me next week, so she can take them. I might even give her some of the tomato plants if she wants them. If not, as I say, I'll stick them into that tub. So I've just hopped out the back door of the polytunnel to show you my rhubarb, which has been neglected. There is some. I'm going to harvest it and make some crumbles with that, and maybe even a cake. But what we have changed, or rather Chris did for me, is my solar fan. He's actually made a bracket and mounted it so it's flat on top of the polytunnel. It's got wood between the polythene and the panel so that it's not, you know, going to damage the polytunnel in any way. And it's really made a difference because it's catching the sun no matter where it is in the sky. And I don't have to keep coming out and moving it around. So that's made a massive difference. He's also started to help me clear, so I can finally see my table again. You can see there's a weed there, and that's how tall everything was. I mean, they were just as tall as the polytunnel, and you can see the nettles there, you know. Anybody who's been following me for a long time will know that I used to have a very neat and tidy plot. Yes, it just got away from me last year. He's also trimmed back here. You can see it was last week and how much it's already grown. So I can actually access my compost bays, which again are starting to become a tangle. So I have plans for those, so watch this space. Essentially what I'm going to do is clear all those weeds by hand with gloves obviously and long sleeves, and then I'm going to have a fiddle around with what's in them, and I'm going to cap them off with some cardboard. He's also trimmed a bit of a path so I can get up that way. And now I'm going to show you the bit I'm a bit ashamed of. So I'm standing in what used to be a path and is now now just completely taken over with weeds, and behind me, amongst the goosegrass and the weeds, although they are fruiting, not quite ready, but I'm going to pull it off so I can show you, are my raspberries. And they're just out of control. I will get back on top of them. This is actually a little bit damaged, so I'm going to throw it for the birds. And then to my left, somewhere in that jungle, there is an obelisk, which I used to grow sweet peas up, and a strawberry patch. And I've got no idea if there's any strawberries in it or not. I'm gonna investigate. Oh, mind the thistles. Whoop. So, got quite a lot of raspberries here because they're kind of taking over. I do have, hey, strawberries. So actually, it's only a tiddler. But I've got some strawberry, well, a strawberry. The plants are there. So there is hope, yeah. Again, it's not really ready. I'm going to give it a little, oh, that's actually really nice. Hurrah! So, let's look at the rest of the plot. Brassicas. So, you watched me, if you've watched my previous video, getting the brassicas out. This end are doing quite well, particularly this scarlet kale, yes, and I think that's the summer broccoli. A couple of the chards are doing okay. The cabbage was annihilated by slugs, but we've got some brassicas, so you know, I'm going to get a little harvest. I can see to the left of me my completely overgrown flower bed, but I'll show you a few bits that we've got going. But some of the summer bulbs are coming up. I've got some self-seeded Californian poppy. We've had, and I think they're still in there, but can't see them for the weeds, Sweet William. So let's have another look around the rest of the plot. So in this tub, there are some summer bulbs. There are some in here, and I think a couple might be coming up. Yeah, there's one there. They were just a selection, so I can't even remember what was in them. There were some in here, but you can see they're just weeds. These ones are coming. And we've got an allium. And then over here, I've got some gorgeous oxeye daisies. They're just coming to an end now. An awful lot of weeds. The sweet peas that you may have seen me planting out are battling with the weeds, but they're trying. In here, keeping the stinging nettles company, are some Sweet Williams. And here are some Californian poppies, and the one little calendula that I had as a plant that I thought was dead is trying. And then over here, the weeds are still trying to come, but look how well that mulch is working. So I'm just going to hop in the shed because it's ever so hot. If you're new to my channel, please don't think this is what my vegetable plot normally looks like, because it really, really isn't. And if you'd seen it a few months ago, it was even worse. So without going into too much detail, I have really been struggling with my mental health, and I've also been struggling with my physical health. I'm currently off work. I've been suffering from burnout because although I love my job, it was just consuming me. And I was working far too many hours and checking emails at home and just letting it take over. And as a result, I wasn't doing the things that bring me joy, apart from my wild swimming. And I'm so glad that I've kept that going. But the time off, help from a really good GP, drugs, medication, and therapy have really been helping me. And I'm getting back on top of things. Chris has been helping me, and although this season is not going to be the best, I know that by spring I'm going to be back on top of my plot. We're going to have weed-free pathways, we're going to have defined beds, and I'm going to have a productive plot again. I've also been struggling with my fiddle.
I don't play the fiddle. Perhaps I should try. I've also been struggling with my physical health, and I've been off work for a while now with burnout because all my energy was being sucked up. I need to start that again. Help from a very, very good woo, cock-a-doodle-doo.